What's going on, guys? Check it out. So I got this air cleaner. If you watch my Swapmeet finds video, I don't know when it was, a week ago. I think it was a week ago I put that one up. I got this air cleaner at Swapmeet for 15 bucks, and it had a dirt sleeve, one of them things you run for off-road, stuff that I don't use. And well, it's pretty beat up. But that's okay. Let's see if I can get it a little closer. Yeah, it's pretty beat up. That's okay though, because what we're about to do now is I'm going to show you what method I would use, what method I'm going to use to restore this with just a few things that are here on the table, and give you an idea of how rough it really is. Listen. So yeah, there's lots of junk on there. And I put a tape line for the sake of the video, and keeping this timely, just to show you how I tackle cleaning up aluminum. We're just gonna do half of the lid. At some point I'll end up doing the whole air cleaner so that it actually, looks halfway decent. And depending on how this goes, we may end up with something that looks really good. We may end up with, just halfway decent. For 15 bucks, I can't complain if it doesn't even get any better, but we're gonna see what we can do. So, the items that I'm going to use is I've got my little 12-volt pocket drill, which I should grab my other battery because that one's probably not gonna make it through the whole job. I've got some Scotch-Brite pads, and I've got some various grits of wet dry sandpaper, microfiber pad and cloth, and some Mother's Mag aluminum polish. I absolutely love this stuff. That's our last step. And then right here I have a plain old bucket of water because we're going to be doing wet sanding on this before we polish it. And there are some pretty good scratches in it that I don't think we're going to be able to get out. Again, I don't know if they'll show up, how well they'll show up in video, but there's a pretty good scratches. So polishing it might, it might make those scratches stand out more, but that's okay. We're gonna see what we can do with it. Again, 15 bucks. I'm not too worried if it doesn't look great, but we're gonna see if we can make this look a little bit better. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I've got basically on my little 12-volt drill, I've got the same thing as like a Scotch-Brite pad here, but a little bit higher abrasive than your typical green pad. And I'm just gonna get this nice and wet, and we're gonna work it a little bit. I've used this method on some aluminum before, using this exact drill. Thus, I actually have a strap. What I do is I unplug my battery, and I move a trigger strap. That way I don't have to actually hold the trigger while I'm doing this, because I don't have a compact, like die grinder or something with a trigger lock. So I do that, and that locks my trigger, and then when I pop the battery in, it just goes. So when I get it nice and wet, I'm actually going to move that aside. And these are just, your average everyday blue shop towels. And all I'm doing is just putting some water on there. And the idea for the water, all it does is help keep it from getting too hot. So this first effort, the goal is just to get rid of the big ugly stuff. It is going to leave a lot of marks, especially swirl marks, because this isn't an orbital. But that's okay. Because I'm using the drill and it's making a bunch of extra noise, I'm going to fast forward through because I'm using the drill and it makes a lot of motor noise, I'm going to put this portion of it into a time lapse, and it'll go real quick. This is the longest part of this whole deal. So enjoy whatever song it is I put to this, and we're going to get the rest of this side buffed out. All right, so after running the drill like a kind of like a die grinder kind of deal with that scour pad on there, we're a good bit cleaned up. All the hard rough spots are out of there. There's still some spots, especially on this edge, where I didn't want to use the drill too much because I didn't want to take too much material away and it doesn't contour to the edge as much. So that's where your Scotch-Brite pads by hand come into play. And you can get these in multiple colors, blue, red, green. The different colors are different levels of abrasiveness. And I actually think that the green is more abrasive than blue, but I don't remember. But essentially I'm just going to take this and work where I can actually roll it over the edges. And I'm not going in a swirl pattern at this point, which is going to leave some long linear streaks, but that's okay for now. We'll come back and work that a little bit more after we get done smoothing this out. And if you work well with your power tool, you don't actually have to do very much of this step by hand. You just want to hit those spots where the power tool doesn't actually get in there very well. And again, being aluminum, it doesn't take much. Aluminum is a pretty soft metal. The same method can be used on, steels and titaniums and stuff like that, but it's a lot more time consuming because the metals are so much harder. So it's more abusive on the abrasives and takes a good bit more time to work out the blemishes. So, and you probably could get to where it was perfect again. I think this material is thick enough that if you worked it long enough, I could probably get the scratches even all the way out, but I'm not going to. They don't bother me that much. We're just trying to make it look a bit cleaner. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, That's cleaning up real nice. All right, let me dry this off. Because the water gives it a false level of shine because it sits in any low spots. So if you like the spun aluminum or the dull aluminum look, then you could actually stop, right here even if you were content with it, and it's significantly better than it was. So, bring this in a little bit closer. You can see original here, a lot of, you can hear how much my nail catches on it, and then on this side, smooth, continuous sounds instead of catches. Like I said, there are scratches in here that I'm not going to bother to get them out, but it could be done using the same method. You just got to work it a good bit longer. So the next thing we're going to do, because we're going to take this up to an actual shine instead of a spun aluminum, is I'm going to go to sandpaper, and that's how we're going to get rid of a lot of the scratches. And I grabbed a couple different pieces of sandpaper. I don't know if I'll use them all. I've got, where's the lowest one? So I'm going to start with 400 grit sandpaper, and all of my sandpaper is wet dry. For anything metal work, if you're doing sanding, wet dry is the way you want to go, because wet sanding is just a lot better on metal in my experience than dry sanding. So I'm going to start with 400, work that a little bit, and step up to 800, then to 1,000, and maybe to 1,500. That might be a little bit much for what we're after, but we'll see where it ends up. As far as wet sanding, basically I'm going to use the same process and the same dirty water. I'm just going to put a little bit of moisture on the air cleaner lid, and then as you saw, I dipped my sandpaper just straight in the water, and then we just work it. It doesn't taste good. All right, so work the 400 a little bit. Now we're gonna see. This is a messy process. Wet sanding is messy, but it also, one of the big benefits about the type of mess that it's making is all the dust and debris that's coming off of here is getting trapped in the water instead of being in the air. So when you are wet sanding like this, it's not nearly as much of a deal that you have to worry about wearing like a respirator for. But try not to flick the water, in your face or in your mouth. It just doesn't taste good. All right. For the sake of good enough, I'm going to accept that that's good for the 400 and go up to 800 and do a once over on that. We're going to get this nice and smooth. After I do the 800, one thing I am doing, before I even say what I'm doing after the 800, one thing I am doing with the sandpaper, especially in the larger surface areas, is trying not to work in straight lines back and forth, but in circular patterns to reduce linear scratching. On the small edge, you can't really work that in a circle very well, so it just is what it is. If you're really patient, you probably could, but for this $15 air cleaner, I'm not worried about it enough on a little edge that doesn't matter. So I'm gonna work the 800 and the 1000 and probably do a quick once over with the 1500 and show you where we're at from there. All right, we are done with the sandpaper. Well, I mean, it could use a little bit more, but I'm not gonna backtrack. This is good enough for what I'm getting at here. I mean, if you're gonna polish anything, just know it's time consuming. There is no, just do it fast and be done. And the bigger the object is, the more time it takes. So this isn't too bad time-wise, and it's actually, my line here in the center actually slows it down a little bit because I'm trying not to take the sandpaper or the Scotch-Brite pads or any of that over the tape line, because then you get adhesive and stuff into your paper or Scotch-Brite pads, and then that makes a whole different kind of mess. But if you're just doing a whole piece, you don't have that to deal with, so it actually makes it a little bit easier. Small nooks like this, which I'm not really focusing on, are also real tedious and time consuming to work out, but it's not bad. So dry this off again, and I'll show you what we've got now, which is extremely dull but very smooth aluminum, which is exactly what I'm going for, except for we're going for a shine. But at this step, nice and smooth is what we're after, because that is what's going to give us a good shine. All right. Right? Okay. It doesn't necessarily look better. Well, I mean, it looks better because it's more consistent in color, but it is very smooth now. We've taken out all the high spots, gotten rid of a lot of this oxidation, buildup, gunk, whatever that is that's on there, gotten rid of all that. So let me wipe the table off and get the water out of the way, because we don't want that getting into anything else we're doing. And I'll show you the water that was in this bucket when I started was nice and crystal clear and clean water, and now it's very dark gray. As you can probably imagine, considering the water that's on the table that I'm just sweeping onto the floor. Hey, don't worry about it. That's what the shop floor is for. If I was really going for a nice finish, I'd also, clean this a little bit and clean my hands before going to the next step. But again, remember, this is a $15 air cleaner that was all beat to hell. If you were to start with this same air cleaner, brand new, without all the garbage and gunk on there, you could probably skip straight to the sanding stage to smooth it out real good, and then the polishing stage. But we had to do some restoration effort before we could do that. So, polish of choice is Mother's mag and aluminum polish. I've said it before, I really like this stuff. It works great. And I know I've had this jar a while, but it keeps on giving. What I start with for application is like a foam-filled microfiber pad. And I'll simply just grab some of it, put it on. You kind of want it to start working into the pad because you don't want to work it dry. If you get to the point where you work it dry, then you have to clean it up and it doesn't work well. So, and then just like anything else, the sandpaper, the Scotch-Brite, you kind of want to work it in circles. And you want to make sure you cover, all your different surfaces. One of the reasons why I like these foam pads is they work good for pushing in and around curves. But yeah, work it on there, and you can see the pad's already turning gray. That's good. That's what we want. We want it to start doing that. And we're actually going to get a little bit more polish going, and this will take a couple minutes, not long. And just work. Once the polish on the air cleaner starts to darken up, that's when it's time to switch to your clean microfiber towel or cleanish or whatever, and start wiping the polish back off. Sometimes you might have to do 2 or 3 applications. It just depends. So we'll see what we end up getting out of this. So you can see, come around, you can see where the polish is starting to get dark. That means it's got aluminum building up in the polish. And that's a little counterproductive as far as getting a nice high shine, but it is what you need. Well, it's what's going to happen no matter what. And that's where, depending on how aggressive your pad is and what comes off your part, it depends on how much polish you're going to need and how many times you're going to have to work it. But this is looking really good. I think we're going to be able to get a really good shine out of this. Which is going to be a little annoying because I'll have to go back and do the other half, and that requires restarting this whole process again. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe you'll see this on one of my cars only half polished. So you can see how dark it made my pad. But go to my clean towel, and basically I'm not just going to wipe it off. I'm going to polish it back off so it all soaks into this towel. I don't know that I'm going to get the shine that I thought I was going to get out of this. Or maybe I let it get too dry. Guess it would help if I did this in a way that you could actually see it a little better. Maybe. And there are some really nice polishing applicators for putting on a power tool. You know, Mother's actually makes a couple of really nice foam type ones for using in like a drill for doing wheels that will contour in around the wheels real well. Those can definitely expedite this process. You just have, same thing applies, you just don't want to overwork it and dry it out because it's counterproductive. So you just want to keep an eye on that. Okay, so here's where we're at after one coat of polish. Not quite the finish I'm going for. I mean, it looks a hell of a lot better than it did, but let's see if we can put a second application on and get a little more shine out of it. Alright guys, I think that's about where I'm going to call it on this, at least good enough for me. The process is the same if you want to get shinier and shinier. This could go all the way to a mirror finish. It might need a little more sanding to get it there. But the polishing method, the process, the stuff used, this works. It will get you there if you wanted to get there. But for a $15 air cleaner, this is where I'm going to call it good enough. Look, hold on, let me make sure I can get this in frame. There's your before and after for basically, I spent about 35-40 minutes. And this looks terrible. And I mean, I don't even know how, even if they really showed up, but we still have these scratches right here. You can hear them. Those scratches are still there, and that's part of the reason why I'm not going to go shinier. The shinier you get, the more noticeable visually that scratches become. And this is, at this level, if you're just, glancing over or looking at it, the scratches don't really jump out. But the surface now, if you listen real close, hopefully it'll pick it up, the difference. Versus this side. So a lot more. Obviously all the junk's gone off of it. This is something that I will be more than happy to put on one of my cars looking this way. And I think that overall that is a win for, let's see, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, which is your Scotch-Brite type abrasive, buffing and cleaning, sanding, well, power tool Scotch-Brite, hand Scotch-Brite, I count that as 2 steps, and then sanding is a 3rd step, and polishing is the 4th step. Nothing crazy, nothing expensive, and you can take, something that looked all beat up like this and turn it into something that looks like this. Just takes a little bit of elbow grease. So, I've obviously got a lot more polishing to do because, well, there's the other half of this that needs to start back at step 1. I'm not going to do that right now. Don't know when. But this is the process that I'm going to use on wheels, because at this same Swapmeet that I picked this up, I picked up a set of aluminum wheels, which are somewhere around here. And basically they need the same thing done, because they're beat up, they're old. I didn't pay very much money for them, and I'm going to try and keep the budget cheap on them. But yeah, if you look at the inside of this, you can see how mirror shiny that is. You could continue to work this and get it up to that level of shine, but I kind of like the semi-dull look over the mirror finish, because if I wanted mirror finish, I'd just get chrome. And I don't want chrome, I want aluminum. So I like that. But anyway, hopefully this helps somebody out, or if this helps one person out, great. If it doesn't help anybody out, oh well, I mean, I needed to do it anyways. So you will see this air cleaner again, and it probably will look the same, let's be real. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for tuning in, and go clean something. Now you know how.